everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Smashing Skull Sessions. This week, I wanted to take a break from speaking to bands, and I decided to bring in two guys who will bring us a different take on music. These are two record labels, two high-profile record labels, in my opinion. And they're two record labels that I've spent a lot of money on, and will do so again in the future. They're two fantastic guys. I have Philippe here from Elusive Sound, who are based in Switzerland. And I have Yannick, who's based in France, and he's labelled as Voice of the Unheard. So, guys, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Really appreciate it. I have a lot of questions, obviously, because I would be a vinyl fan myself. And I think a lot of people that will watch the show will be the same, because it has taken a new lease of life, hasn't it? Vinyl in general, across the world, basically.
Yeah.
I suppose my first question is, what was the drive behind getting started? What possessed you to? Because I suppose just give people a bit of a background there, Philippe. I'll start with yourself.
Sure.
Like, I was going through some of your information. I mean, like your site was designed by Eli from Black, and then I see that Alex CF designed your logo. I mean, talk about big guns. Like, I mean, what a start to the label. You know, how did it come about? What made you decide on starting up?
Me and Remo actually started the label together. Remo is our art directionist. He does all vinyl related artsy stuff, color stuff, and so. And he has been a record collector for many years now.
Okay.
And by chance, I started record collecting as well, and we got back in touch after we had been in school together for, I think, 4 years.
Okay.
And we both were a little upset about how vinyl was being made, being packaged, like labels cutting corners in, like, with the vinyl weight, with the quality, with the packaging, and also with shipping and stuff. And jokingly, because back then I was living with my parents and they had saved up a bit of money, jokingly I said, "Hey, let's just do our own label, you know?
Yeah.
Let's fix all these mistakes and try to do something a bit different." And from that joke, it actually grew so much bigger, you know?
It's mad how something can kick off from something so small. It's just a bit of a why don't we? And next minute.
Exactly.
You do it. Like, it's fantastic. Yannick, what about yourself? Because I know you're sort of maybe a one-man show at the moment, aren't you? I mean, you're a DIY label, you'd call it, I suppose.
Yeah, it actually started as a booking association in Bordeaux here.
All right.
Because I was like, okay, why not try that? Want to see how it's made, and let's have someone to book the shows for bands I love, and who else than me could do that?
Yeah.
So it started like that, and a few years later, I made some contacts with many bands, and the guys from Lost in Cave, who I become friend with, they wanted to press their first record, and I was like, okay, I started collecting records. Okay, let's see how that works, and it just started like that, and.
So did you actually get it? Were you involved in Lost in Cave's first album? So
yeah.
Oh, very good. I did know that.
It was a co-production with Duhig, which was good because I didn't know anything about producing vinyl at that time. So it was cool to have someone who knew that for the first release.
Yeah. So you dealt with Duhig so from the outset, did you? That was your sort of go-to people. Yeah.
Yeah.
A great bunch of people, actually, Duhig. They're fantastic, yeah. When I speak about quality, like, and professionalism, like the two of yourselves' names, you know, you come to my head straight away. But Duhig also, like, I mean, Duhig have a fantastic pressing plant that they've created over the last couple of years, you know. Have you been there to visit it? Have you seen it?
I wish I could, because they're doing a fantastic job on that. So,
Philippe, have you been to Duhig?
No, I never have. I own a few Duhig records.
Yeah,
you know, back from the days where they were pressing not in house, and also from the more recent pressings. And I like how they took matters in their own hands when there was a shortage of vinyl suppliers.
Uh-huh. Would you ever see yourselves going down that road, lads? Would you ever envisage yourselves being that big in setting up a plant?
No.
No. So you're happy to deal with someone like Dunk, so to press the records and basically you distribute and is it joint label? How do you go about it?
For us, we work with Pirates Press.
Okay.
Which is basically an open secret, you know.
Yeah.
They are a one-stop fulfilling service, basically. But we do add our own little things, you know, as you saw with the Turna slip cases, for example.
Yeah.
Or the black slip case. All of these things are not made in the Czech Republic with Pirates Press, but they're either locally sourced or close to us.
Okay. And yourself, Yannick, then is it mostly just Dunk you deal with, or?
It's a bit. I work a bit differently than Elusive because I do a lot of co-releases where I don't actually manage the pressing. But when I do releases myself, the last ones were pressed at Dunk.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, I've been really happy with their job, and the next one is going to be at Dunk too. So,
okay, is there quality checks when they get into your hands? Yeah, and do you go through them all?
Yeah, and they have great turnaround times, which at that time is really good to have.
Yeah, I mean that's something we'll probably talk about after. I mean, it's pressing plants are just fucking inundated with orders, I can only imagine. But vinyl in general, as do you think? I know it's obviously made a huge comeback. Like, is it going to stay around? Is it something that's going to sort of go to fashion again, do you think? Or is it here for the long haul?
I personally think it's going to stay for the long haul.
Yeah.
Maybe numbers will go down a little bit if something new comes up, or if there's a, more of a digital evolution. I mean, Spotify has been a huge evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Bandcamp was there first, but Spotify made it somewhat more accessible for everyone. And even I myself catch myself using Spotify because I'm lazy sometimes over vinyl, but not when I want to sit down and listen to vinyl or to the music.
Yeah.
But
it has the use stuff, Philippe, like, doesn't it? I know people will slate it, and I have done myself. But it is a way of finding bands. Like, there's no question about that. Like,
yes,
I mean,
exactly.
It does edge it towards something specific that you may not have went to yourself. Yannick, what do you think yourself about vinyl at the moment? Is it here to stay?
Maybe the fact that the turnaround times are getting bigger and bigger, it can maybe cause some issues with the cost and stuff like that. But at the moment, it seems like it's gonna stay. I think it's something we asked ourselves. Like, when I started the label, like, everyone was asking this question. Yeah, and so it was 8 years ago, and it's still going well and up. So you're up running since 2013, Yannick, aren't you? That's like 8 years. They've flown by. 9 years nearly. What am I saying? Yeah, it's no regrets. No,
that you started it up, no?
No, I have to say, at some points I thought I was gonna quit, but like, you always find new projects, and I'm glad I continued.
Like, neither of you have grey hair yet, so there's been no stress, I'd say. You're both fine, I'd say, for now. What do you think, Philippe? I mean, again, it's probably a question I want to speak to you again after about, because
sure.
You know yourself, there was an email went out maybe I'm sure we can touch on it now. There was an email went out last year, wasn't there? More or less saying that Elusive Sound was going to wrap up this year, basically. Yeah. I mean, is that still the case?
Yeah, it largely depends on scheduling. Okay. But yes, Elusive Sound is going to close, yes.
Okay.
After a scheduled set of records has been released.
Okay.
And after most LPs have sold out, or they have found a new home in another distribution or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's no set date per se. It's just the announcement that yes, we're not going to continue.
Okay.
But until then, we're working.
Yeah, you're open for business until then. Yeah, I
Exactly.
mean, there's 5 of you involved in Elusive Sound, isn't there? Philippe, am I right? 4 or 5 of you. There's Remo, yourself. Josh does the Facebook stuff, and you'd have
Peter is there as well.
Peter's like 4, yeah.
Yes.
Was it a joint decision? Are you all happy to call it a day whenever?
The decision fell when we were still 3, like the 3 founders.
Yeah.
And we hired Josh into. I'm telling him, sorry, we're closing. That was a bit awkward, but he was very happy to join nevertheless.
Mm-hmm. Of course, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
it
yourself?
was a joint decision.
Yannick, would you ever see yourself bringing somebody else in to give you a hand and sort of, take away some of that heavy workload that you must be finding yourself under, being a solo project?
I've tried that in the past, but it's always difficult because, from the beginning, it's only been myself and like people that I've tried to come and help, like who didn't really have much time. So I prefer to continue like that and do what I can do and get some help when I can, because I get some help from the beginning from a friend who does all the graphic stuff when it's needed. And for example, on the last release, the ALS record, it's my girlfriend who made the design of the B-side screen printing. So I kind of like it like that. Like there's not a focused team, but when it's needed,
you like to have control.
Yeah.
So tell me, that are you both big collectors? Philippe, are you well, I actually know you are a big collector because I've sort of had a quick look through your discography and had a look and see what you could potentially be selling at some stage. But when did the whole collection bug kick off for you? When did you start?
My first record has been a Dimmu Borgir record. It should have been Godless Savage Garden, but I'm not entirely sure. It was a lucky pick. I went to a local record store looking for CDs and somehow stumbled upon vinyl, and it was like, I think it's clear with green splatter.
Okay.
And that just caught my eye, and I was like, yeah, let's buy it. Because my parents back then had a record player, so I was able to actually use it.
Yeah.
And that's where it started. And I don't know, it just came by itself, and the more or the better jobs I had, the more I poured into records. Yeah.
But that's what happens. I suppose people wonder, like, is it just a fad you're getting involved? But it is something you can't stop, Yannick, isn't it? I mean, once you have 1 or 2 of your favorite, like I started out saying I want my top 20 albums of all time, and first press, and I achieved it then, and you say, fuck it, look at this, and it just snowballs. Is it the same for you?
Yeah, exactly. I was a huge CD collector at the time, and at some point a band that I booked gave me their vinyl, and when I opened it, I saw that it was transparent orange with black smoke. I was like, okay, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I got hooked in, and then you start, and then you say, okay, I want this one, just as you said, and it never stops.
And again, and for yourself, Yannick, there, like you sort of seem to be sticking with post scene, like, don't you? With post rock, metal, emo, screamo. Have you ever thought about sort of stepping out of that and maybe adventuring into some other style of music? Or have you any restrictions? Is it just the way it felt?
I think I wanted to focus only on this at the beginning, because like just focusing on this scene, you have so many people contacting you, and you can't release all the stuff you want already.
Yeah.
So if you open to more, I have some ideas and for other things that might expand a bit, but it's just because it's friends, or in those cases, maybe I can go in some things that would be more indie pop, or maybe more classical. Otherwise I try to stick to that.
It's what you're into, I suppose, isn't it? I mean, it makes it easier when it's something that you love yourself. Like Yannick, Philippe, I'm just thinking back there as well, like, do you go to bands, or do bands come to you? You know, when you want to, if you have an idea, you want to press an album, like we just said, the band Black, for instance, you say, right, I would fucking love to have these guys on Elusive Sound.
Sorry, I didn't catch the band.
Yeah, Black.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Like, do you go to them? Do they come to you? Is it sort of a mutual agreement, or how does it play out?
Both things have happened.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the beginning, we went to 2 bands, I think.
Okay.
It's been a long time. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And another band, like Show Me Dinosaur, they came to us asking, just sent in their demo and asking if we want to release something. And with Black, I can't remember currently. I would have to ask, because that's actually Peter's job.
Okay, right.
Peter is artist and repertoire, and it's his job to be on the lookout and to be open for them.
So it's a two-way street, so Philippe, really, like, isn't it? They can come to you, you can go to them. There's no set agenda, like,
Yeah, it comes down to what and choosing bands is coming down to what we believe was exceptional emotive music.
Yeah.
Their sound aesthetic and vision that we feel that fits Elusive Sound, and that deserves to be heard by as many people as possible.
Do you find yourselves having to turn down bands?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We have to do that mostly because of scheduling, and when we announced or decided to end the label, obviously then as well.
Tough thing to do, I'd say, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
To tell a band no, like, I mean, you know, we all know and understand that we all have our own full-time jobs outside of all this, like all this love for music, you know, and you hate to knock people's confidence, like when they're out to trying to make a break for themselves. But yeah. Do you find? Sorry, go ahead.
It's important to say that Elusive Sound is exactly what you said. It's a side project, side hobby, side company, and we all work full time.
Yeah.
And so if we wanted to release more music, we'd have to start putting in much more time.
Hours. Yeah, exactly. And Yannick, you're probably of the same mind, are you? Like, it takes time, a lot of time.
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. So, at some point you want to say yes, but it's just not, it just wouldn't help the bands, because if you have too many things at the same time, like, there wouldn't be enough promotion. So like I would just stack up the records in my living room, and that wouldn't be helpful for anyone.
That's where they're stored, is it? That's where to go looking if we ever come down.
Yeah.
Brilliant. As I said, I know you're both big collectors, Dad, so probably an impossible question, like, but what would be your favorite album, one of your favorite albums in your own collections? I'll go to Philippe there because he's actually smirking. We'll ask him first.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential picks, of course.
Yeah.
If
something that's of the greatest value to you, we'll say, an album that you would not part with ever.
Well, the first thing that came to my mind is probably the Moon Sorrow box set. I'm not sure if you have seen it.
No.
It's a huge box set that encompasses almost all albums of Moon Sorrow.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. It's splatter. It's really high quality. It has, there's several albums, so there's not one favorite album.
Yeah, but that box
it's just a big, nice box. It's the first time it's been released on vinyl, so that's a big one for me.
What about you, Yannick? Have you something that you would never part with in your collection?
That's a difficult question. Like, if I would say aesthetically, the Elusive records are they're my favorite ones. Like, I'm so sad you're stopping, because every time you impress me with how clever it is and how you find new things. So definitely those ones, I won't part with them. And if it's more about music, I think my Mihai Edrich record, it's my favorite screamo band. They are French.
Sorry, Yannick?
They call Mihai Edrich. They are from Lyon. They were from Lyon, and the singer went then to form Celeste. So you probably know them. And they before that, they had a band, a screamo band. They only released 2 records in French, and they always get to me when I when I listen to them. It's like so many emotions. The lyrics are so cool. Like, yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah, definitely.
Philippe, another question I would like to ask you actually about, we're talking about the different types of variants there and the splatters and the colors and the smoke and who decides on it for an elusive press? Again, is the pressing plant involved? Is it all yourselves? Is it just your design concept?
It's in tandem with the bands usually.
Yeah.
It's obviously a question for Remo.
Yeah.
And I've discussed it with him prior to the interview, and he said that it's always closely discussed with the bands and also decided together. Packaging and variants mostly come down to himself, to Remo. He does concepts, he does color variants, and ultimately he's checking in with the bands. But they decide together on it. But
one that stood out to me was Tierna's Earth Cult. I mean, the actual album cover changed and all for that, for the vinyl press,
That's because there was only that cover image available. So for a vinyl release, you obviously need more panels than that. Yeah. Even if for a gatefold, you need again more. Okay. And for a triple gatefold, you need much more. So Remo came up with this cool concept that does the music justice.
Yes, it
and
does.
The ideas behind it. And we looked quite a long time for a suitable artist, and these are all, I think, paintings. So,
and again, Tierna themselves had a big part in that, I suppose, as well, didn't they?
Yes, he discussed every idea with them, and they also agreed that we changed the cover for the van release.
Ah, brilliant! Yeah. It's a fantastic album. Actually, it's probably one of my favorites, without a doubt. Yannick, what about yourself? When you speak with Dunk before they go pressing, do you have any say on the Dunk presses?
Yeah. Usually, I try to find an idea that fits the art and try to see if they can do it. And like, for example, if I think about the Green Lake record, like the gray marble one was like a no-brainer. It was definitely matching the art. And the other one was more like, at the beginning, I thought it would only be a blob. But as they're not used to it, it was a kind of splatter blob, and it's even better than what I imagined. So it's always different on all the records. It works very, very well. So
is this something that saved or reinvented vinyl, lads? Is it this fact that you could change the color, splatters, blobs, you name it, smoke? Would it have grown as it did if you were just still pressing black vinyl? Do you think?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it will have grown that much because, with Instagram and stuff like that, like the fact that you're releasing beautiful pieces of art, that makes people want to buy them.
It is art at the end of the day, like, isn't it? Yeah. Philippe, you think the same?
Yeah, for me, especially, I have not bought records because they were black.
Okay. All right.
It's not always about the music. It's always about the music, but not exclusively.
I get you. Exactly.
Yeah. And I had an interesting anecdote from the pressing plant, actually, because you mentioned if they are involved.
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Obviously, they set the boundaries of colors and methods and all that stuff. But sometimes there have been instances where we forced them to do something they weren't offering. Okay. Like an experimental idea.
Some gentle persuasion, Philippe, is it? Yeah?
Exactly. Okay,
yeah.
And also there were instances where they didn't work according to the order, where they exchanged one or another color for something that was close, but not exactly the same.
Okay.
And only we know what happened, and we never tell anyone, of course, because every pressing looks great.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. But with some, they could have looked better or different.
Yeah, I suppose we all, again, you've been on your forums there talking to people, and you see the mock-ups of a potential pre-order coming, and you see this glorious, you wonder how this can be possible, and it turns out it's not possible because what you perceived isn't the same,
Yeah.
And it is a bit of an, but again, I know Elusive have been sort of commended on being very upfront and realistic in their presses, to be fair to you.
Yes, we circumvent these troubles by just supplying a real picture.
Yeah.
Easy as that. But I understand how other labels cannot do that because they're financing the releases as they pre-order.
Exactly. Yeah. What about you, Yannick? Black vinyl, do you still collect it? Does it matter to you? Or have you been taken in by the colors?
Yeah, I would say I prefer much more to have a beautiful colored vinyl. But if there's no option and I really like the music, especially in the punk scene, some bands don't release colored vinyl, and because it's cheaper to do just a simple black pressing, and it's a way also to support them. So,
and is it much cheaper to press on black as opposed to different color? It is. Yeah. I was wondering.
By a lot, actually.
Is it? Is it? Yeah. How much do you like? Is it 50% more expensive for someone to produce it on the color, or is there even a figure you can put out there?
Not by heart, but usually once you start adding colors, you are also adding cleanup fees, for example.
Okay.
And if you're just doing one color, that's not happening.
And what about the myth that black vinyl is a lot cleaner, crisper, sounds better than colored vinyl? And that is that the case? You don't want to say.
Some people say clear vinyl sounds the best. Some say black sounds the best.
Okay.
Some say half and half split records sound the worst.
Yeah.
Or white records sound the worst. Or picture discs sound the worst. And picture discs are like the only sustainable thing, or the only sustainable call.
Okay.
Or they can back up. Yeah, picture discs really sound worse than other vinyl.
They do, obviously. It's because obviously there's a coating of something over the vinyl. Isn't there? There's a picture here.
Yeah. The way they do it is they have a disc and they just smack on a picture and then smack on a small layer of vinyl, and it's not even vinyl, I think. And then they press into that, so it's much smaller.
Yeah.
So there's not that much depth to it.
As beautiful as they look, there is definitely a lack of quality in the sound.
Exactly.
There's no doubt about that. What was I going to ask you? Maybe for you, Yannick, I'd say there, as I mentioned already, I know you're a one-man show. You don't foresee taking people on, so it's not in the plans.
No, as I mentioned, it's I've been used to working like that for years now.
Yeah.
And as it's it's been my thing since the beginning, and I've been putting money in that. So it's easier to know where I mean how much I have put and everything, and so it's easier to do it like that.
This isn't for profit, Yannick. Sure, it's not. This is literally for the love of music. Why you do this?
Yeah, definitely. It's the main point at the beginning was to help people put their music on record that they couldn't afford otherwise. So,
and have you lost money on it?
I'm still not. I still haven't broke even. Since the beginning, but I'm getting closer. Thanks to the Show Me a Dinosaur last year, that really helped.
That is a very interesting one, because how did that come about? I suppose that's a question for both of you, because Philippe, as you know, you were doing all the Show Me a Dinosaur presses.
Let me start by we announced the end of the label early enough to the bands and released all of them if they wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they were then free to find new labels. And there's where Yannick comes in.
Yannick, on your side of the fence, and how did it happen for you?
they just contacted me. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's weird. Aren't you on Elusive? And they said, yeah, they can't release because it wasn't announced yet that you would stop.
Mhm.
So I was just checking before, like, because to me, like, Show Me a Dinosaur was Elusive, and and it was a huge pressure to be up to the quality.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I really need to do something really cool. And so, yeah, that was one of the main things that I thought about during all the discussions at the beginning. So
because I know you had a tough time on the evening of the release. I mean, I think your system went down, did it? You had a torrid time.
Yeah, that was the worst. Like, after that, it was cool because people still managed to buy them, but like they went online at 7, and at 7, like, no one could get an order.
Yeah. I feel so bad. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, I changed stuff after that. So
you see what you
discussed about that, yes.
Yeah, but it worked out in the end, Yannick, didn't it? Did both presses sell out?
Yeah. Now they both sold out, and we actually talked about a repress, but they found a new label. Like, they announced it like a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
A German label that will help them, like, to have a broader distribution. So they will repress it with them.
They will be with AOP Records.
And how big would they be, Philippe? Do you know much about them? How big would they be in comparison to Elusive, for instance?
AOP Records is surely a number or 2 or 3 numbers bigger than Elusive Sound.
Okay.
And they have, for example, been releasing Harakiri for the Sky or Kark, if that rings a bell.
Yeah. Okay.
And they also do quality releases. I own some of those. They do wooden boxes. They do quality sleeves and quality pressings. A bit less colorful than we do, but yeah. Understandably, for the bigger you get, the more difficult it is to sustain that.
But it is quality still. They're a quality pressing plant. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let me see now. I suppose my next question again is for both of you. What's next? I know this year could be the year for Elusive Sound to wrap up, and I suppose I don't want to be putting you on the spot, Philippe. Like, I mean, if there's something that you don't want to be telling or you're unsure about. So I'll go straight to Yannick. Yannick, how are things going for you? I mean, where do you hope to see yourself this time next year with I mean, would you like to be taking on more work? Are you happy with what you have?
No, not more work. Like, I think it will stay the same, like, until I try to stop that.
Yeah.
But I have already, like, some releases planned. I'm actually working on one at the moment from a new UK band. They are called Deadbird. They have released one song last week.
I saw that, actually. Yeah, I did spot that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
nice to know.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, it's the new band from the Chris, the drummer of TTNG.
Okay.
And it's more post-hardcore screamo, so definitely my thing.
That's your scene, yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty excited. We're talking about the variants, finishing the artwork at the moment. So yeah, normally it should look cool. I'm really happy about that.
Just on that, so Yannick, I mean, you, as you said, now you and the band will decide on the variant, right? And as you go to Dunk, then is it with what you want, basically?
Sorry, I didn't catch.
Like you mentioned, now for Deadbird's release, potential release, future release, you decide between yourselves and the band on what variant to go with, what colors, and then you speak to Dunk and Dunk.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we do that a bit at the same time to make sure that that what we envision fits what they can do.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll try something new this time. So hopefully it will look cool in the end. But that would match really well the artwork. So
great stuff. I mean, there was a big question here, I suppose, for anyone who's into vinyl, but it may not be relative to both yourselves. Like, is the mass-produced vinyl at the moment and the delays and people waiting months upon months for releases? You know, I mean, I actually lost track of how many I have waiting. I just get, you get an email coming in saying, you see it and you go, here we go, another delay before you even open the email. You know it's coming, and I suppose it's the same because you're also buying records as well as making them. So, is it a case that the bigger orders get moved to the top? Is that how it works? Like, is there a bit of favoritism there, do you think?
With Pirates Press, I'm actually not sure because it's such a big operation, and Pirates Press actually is a broker only for GZ Media. GZ Media is the actual pressing or production plant, and they have been pretty exact with what dates they have been giving us. Okay. For releases. Yeah. And for the next thing we want to have pressed, I've asked about like a month ago when we could get a spot, or when our next possible spot would be, and they told us it would be June of this year. So, which is actually not bad for me, I think. But we have been long-standing customers, just not with big volumes, but like steady customers. Yeah. And so it's hard to actually prove anything,
So it's not an issue for you. As I said, I didn't expect it to be, because you have probably a good relationship with who's been pressing yours for a long time, and Yannick, you're the same. Dunk, I mean, I don't think you'd have too many issues with Dunk, do you?
Yeah, and it's easier with Dunk because they're not doing big pressings. Like, it's mostly in this scene, so it's a bit better, even if they still get more and more orders. But yeah, that's working pretty well.
Obviously, quality is tending to drop a bit too, isn't it? With the bigger presses, like, I mean, your regular pop record, which is getting hundreds and thousands of presses. I mean, one of my kids brought something home there one day, and the noise was ridiculous. Like, it was unlistenable to, I mean, it gives it a bad name at times, doesn't it? The whole vinyl game. Like, I mean, they're throwing stuff out there just to have it on the shelf.
I think it's a conscious decision to lower quality by the one that orders, or by the labels, and any other quality issues just would be false by the plant. Like, you can only use a stamper for around 1,000 records, and you have to make a new one after that. And if they don't do that, it's their fault. So, and everything else is just profit maximizing, in my opinion. Yeah.
You think the same?
And we have seen some really egregious examples of profit maximizing.
Yeah.
Like cheaply made records that cost like below $10 to make, sold for $40, $50, $60, euros, you name it. And I think it's horrible.
No, you're right. You're dead right. Yeah, absolutely, it is. I suppose there's no point. Yannick, you think the same. I suppose it's you're living and breathing it here every day. You can see it all for what it is.
Yeah, definitely. And I see that because as I mentioned, sometimes I do co-releases, so I'm not in charge of the pressing part, and I just get my copies and sell them on my side. And like, it happened with the Coven record that I released a few months ago. Like, it was made like in I don't remember which pressing plant, and they are really thin, and like the sound is not really good quality. The cover is a bit blurry, so you're like, it's sad to have that and to try at the same time to do some really great looking records that are perfect for the people who buy them. So
yeah, like I said, I mean, both of your labels, like, they're always come across as professional. They've got a good reputation. The last thing you want to do is destroy all that with a bad press, like, It's one of those things. I suppose I want to go on to a couple of easy questions, I call them. There's three. I normally have 3 session questions, I call them, and I'd ask bands 3 specific questions at the end of every show. So I had to alter them a small bit, obviously, because we were talking from a different side of the game. So, and I gave you a heads up, so you should have your answers ready, I'd say. I'm hoping. So I suppose the first of the 3 questions was, if you could press any album in the whole post-metal scene, past or any post-genre, whatever it is, past or present, under your name, voice unheard, under Elusive sound, what would it be? What album? We'll go with Philippe first, I'd say, because he looks.
Yeah, I actually have one here. Yes, I am.
Oh, Jesus, yes, a stunner.
That is Red Forest by If the Streets Could Talk.
You would love to have that under Elusive Sounds label?
Yes, I would. Personally, let me say I have tried to make a move here, but I have absolutely no luck with that.
Okay.
This has been released in, I think, 10 variants now over the years, and the latest ones by Metal Blade.
Yeah.
And they never improved on quality as of the packaging.
I get you.
Yeah. They have, however, remastered the albums, which is a great thing because they sound much better than they used to.
Yeah. I have an older press, which, as much as I love that album, Red Forest is an incredible album.
And for me personally, it's a really important record for me because that's the one record that got me into post-rock. And probably also helped kick off the label.
Oh, very good. Yeah. So is it specifically Red Forest if you were to pick an album, or is it just to get If These Trees Could Talk onto the Elusive?
It's Red Forest.
That's the album.
Yeah. I like the other ones as well a lot, but Red Forest is just all up there, you know. I'm with you
on that one, yeah. Yannick, what about yourself?
So I haven't prepared, so sorry. But as I mentioned,
you have to think on your feet here.
As I mentioned earlier, like Mia Edrich is like my favorite band and album of all time. It's been repressed recently by Echo Canyon, and like a few years ago, a friend of mine told me that maybe he would get me into that repress, and I was like, yeah, do it. I'm up for it, definitely. And in the end, they pressed it with their label, which made sense.
Okay.
But yeah, that would have been like my highlight.
There you go. You taught fast there. That didn't take too long to come up with. So it must have been a very important album for you, Yannick. Lads, what album, past or present again, would you like to see finally getting a vinyl release? An album that is probably only on CD or digital format at the moment. I have a favourite of mine actually as well, but I'll go to Philippe first.
I have 2 actually, and one is only semi, because it has been released in a box set, and that would be Hellrunner's album Soul, which is only available in a box set currently, and I just don't want to buy the whole set just for that album.
Yeah.
And the other one that hasn't been pressed is Dark Space 4. Dark Space is actually a band from Bern in Switzerland, so it's just like 10 kilometers from my place. And
Dark Space 4.
Yes.
Okay, we take that.
And the problem with their songs is that they are incredibly long. Their songs go for 21 and I think 27 or 28 minutes on that album. So that's really hard to release, actually. It's not impossible.
It is a tough thing because I have A Swarm of the Suns, The Woods, and I think there's one of the tracks, it stops and you have to flip over side B for the song to continue, which is a bit of a shame. Like, you know,
funny thing is,
the moment.
It has been done on the Moon Sorrow box set actually that I own, because Moon Sorrow is also known to have extremely long tracks.
Yeah. What about yourself, Yannick? That question, if you could see an album finally getting a vinyl press.
I think I would love to have a pressing of the Pax Cecilia, Blessed Arband. It was released like in 2006 as a CD, and at that time it was sent for free to the people who were asking. They just paid shipping fees, and it was given like that. And it actually this year the the guy who was writing the songs made a new project that's called Odd and Elegy, and it's a 55-minute song with like between post-hardcore and like with lots of orchestral instruments, and it's amazing. And
did you say a 55-minute track?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's only like one piece, and like it's really, really good. And you get all the elements that were so good in the Pax Cecilia, but it's it actually got better with time. And
Brilliant.
So yeah, and this one, like I got in touch with him to know if there was a plan on doing a vinyl. It was like it's a 55-minute song, and I don't know how to cut it, so I think it will never happen. So this one would be cool.
My own personal choice would be Audrey Fall's Meto album. It's one of my favorite post-metal albums ever. And I just think it's very similar to Red Forest, actually, in sound. I think they have a lot of similarities. But Audrey Fall, for me, if anyone's out there, Yannick, have no checking that one. Maybe you might get a press for me.
Just send me the info after. I need to listen to that.
Send it to me too, because I'm intrigued to listen to it now.
I have a feeling you probably did hear it at some stage, but I'll definitely send it on to you, lads. And I suppose lastly, give me a name of an album or a band to look out for this year, a release that's up and coming.
That was is a hard one for me, because I always miss those.
Yeah,
I'm really bad with these.
Sorry, let's give it a light.
Yeah. So my general advice is just to look out for the Russian St. Petersburg bands like Shomina, so All Lava, and all the projects that come from that circle of guys. Also Blankenberg, of course. They are not with us anymore. They're doing their own thing, but yeah.
That's an incredible scene at the moment, isn't it?
It is.
St. Petersburg scene. I mean, that sound is
really hot.
Yeah, it really is.
We could have signed more bands if you wanted to.
Unbelievable. Is there a lot more bands there? Is there in that scene?
They're emerging really quickly.
Yeah.
So you just gotta keep your eyes open, and yeah.
And what did you make the vocals on Tierna's track on the album? The name of the track escapes me now. The vocals from Gera, is it? The vocals?
Oh, Istok, you mean?
Istok, that's the one.
Yeah.
What did you think of them?
Actually, I haven't listened to that album because I want to savor it for the vinyl release. That has been delayed again.
And that was one I was going to reference a while ago. I'm sick of seeing that email from Candlelight come in and say, delayed.
I know you were referencing that. I'm avoiding this album until it arrives on my doorstep. Yeah.
Yannick, go back to you. A band or an album to look out for this year?
I haven't thought about it. Like I'm always bad at remembering which bands should release a record.
Me too.
And so usually I track every Friday what is going to be released, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's fine. So
how do you go? Actually, just out of curiosity, how do you go about checking new music? Do you go to Bandcamp and literally see what's been dropped in there? Or do you have another way of finding new music? I'd be curious to know. Yeah.
I know I follow a French webzine that does a pretty good listing of most of the releases that are out every Friday. And then I go to Deezer to listen to them. Like it's the French Spotify. And usually I do that. And sometimes, you have those automatic playlist with the bands you listen to, and they say, okay, you have a new release now. So
that's right.
It helps with my bad memory.
And you're lucky not reading the questions at the end of the email, and these 3 questions I gave you. What about you, Philippe? How do you source new music?
A few ways, but none are really that good, I guess. First one is friends. I get recommendations by friends.
Yeah.
Customers from the label actually too. And the other one is finding them by chance. by following the labels.
Okay.
Or certain labels,
Yeah,
I'm tracking more labels than bands, I think now.
Right.
And lastly is by chance, as in they automatically show up on Spotify.
Yeah.
Spotify playlists, Spotify you may like, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's how I found A Swarm of the Sun, for example.
Another incredible band, one of my favorites. Yeah, unreal. That's all my questions. That's everything. I want to thank you both so much for coming on. Philippe, I don't know how long is left in Elusive Sound, but look, I wish you well for however long more yet you're still sharing great music with us. So I appreciate everything you've done so far and for all the albums that you've given us. They're
Thank you so
absolutely
much.
fantastic. They really are. Yannick, I hope you can carry the candle when they've left the building. You're doing a fantastic job yourself at the moment. Again, I have your Winter Dust. I have your Show Me a Dinosaur. Fantastic stuff. Great quality again. And I wish you all the best. Everybody, that's it. Thanks for joining me again on the show. Tune in again in 2 weeks' time where we'll have, I won't give too much away, but it's a band from the States. Very, very different band. Until then, thanks to Richie again from the Metal Cell podcast for producing and editing the show, and talk to you all soon. Cheers now. Bye-bye.